Take it away.
Hey guys, hello. My name's Mo. I run Compostable, which is a community compost company here in Los Angeles. And the beautiful thing is there's community composting companies all throughout the world, actually. So I love that you're from a lot of different places, but you can find a company doing what I do usually no matter where you are. And so what is a community compost company? We're like the farmers markets of composting. We focus on hyper local, keeping things within the community, rebuilding the soils here. So we are kind of the antithesis to major waste hauling. Not that there's anything wrong with major waste hauling, but we have a different set of values we're prioritizing, and those values usually are about regenerating the soils within the community we serve. So as you are listening to this presentation, if you're like, this is super dope, I want to find someone in my area, I just put a website in the chat that has where, how to compost in my area kind of thing. And there's a list of community composters all across the United States. So that's a little bit about me and Compostable. We started with just residential pickup, so collecting buckets from people's houses and bringing them to urban farms in the area. But then we have now graduated on to doing corporate and events, productions. Obviously, that's really big here in Los Angeles, and there's been a big learning curve with that about how to best support a wedding coordinator versus how to best support a commercial production line manager. Those are two very different need areas. And so we've really had to build out operations to make sure both those individuals are getting what they need. So I'm here to kind of hopefully show you that this is actually quite easy to incorporate once you start and once you have a really good partner with a good company to work with. They'll make it easy for you. So hopefully I kind of demystify this for you. Anything else you want me to share, Michelle?
No, I didn't know if you wanted to share your screen or would you like me to kind of
Oh
ask
yeah, I
some
can.
questions?
Okay, we'll move right into that. So great. So the first, I'll share you some documents about a little bit about let me just share my whole screen. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you guys a little bit of overview about Compostable in regards to events, since that's most applicable to you. I don't want to sit here and talk about Bokashi systems when you guys are not going to be, using Bokashi systems on sites. So, who is Compostable? We're all actually, oh my God, I was gonna say that's actually the four girls that are with me right now, but Amber's not here. We are a woman-owned company. So like I said, we are focused on providing transparency around food systems and environmental justice. So a lot of industrial systems can be NIMBYism, meaning not in my backyard, saying like, yes, we know we create waste, but we don't want that waste processed in more privileged communities. And what Compostable is doing is saying, no, if you're producing that waste, then the community in which you're producing that waste needs to be able to manage that waste. And so we are demonstrating that with organic material. And not only is that a waste, but it's actually a resource that helps produce more high quality, nutrient dense food. So we're kind of turning that model on its head. And this is actually a photo of us at the Grammys this year. This is Milk Productions, where the Grammys were hosted at a couple of the Grammy events, not the Grammys themselves. So even events as large as the Grammys have been able to pull this off. And what we do is we provide a green glove service, meaning we're going to do all the dirty work for you. You are the specialist in coordinating events or coordinating with caterers or talking to the client. We are the specialists in making sure your waste ends up in the appropriate system and then is managed in the most sustainable way. And we have the local, the network of partnerships. We know the liability and the risks, and can guide you through that. And there's a remarkable amount of organic material at these events. Not only is it food, but usually it could be your disposables are compostable. Maybe your invitations are compostable. Your florals. Maybe you had a cigar bar that happened recently. That's all compostable. So it can really maximize the amount of diversion that you see at your events. This slide kind of goes a little bit into why we love composting. I'm not gonna spend too much time boring you, or not boring you. I find it freaking fantastic, but I'm not gonna spend too much time going over the importance of composting, but I will touch on two things. What is this actually linked to? I don't even know. Oh, my website. Okay. Our website. So there is a lot of information on our website. There's a whole impact page where you can really dig in and chew into that, but I'm going to just give you a quick overview. And I'll stop the share for this part just so you can listen to me. There's two main ways composting is the freaking best thing ever. One, landfill diversion. Okay, so when you put organic material into a landfill, it doesn't actually decompose. They have dug up carrots that were put in a landfill 10 years ago that are still friggin' carrots. You can cut them open, they're orange, they're carrots. So what happens is when an organic goes into a landfill, it's so anaerobic, meaning there's no oxygen allowed to decompose, that it releases methane gas, which is way more potent than carbon dioxide in the first 20 years of its existence. Not to mention landfills are a finite resource. I think the movie WALL-E did a really good depiction of, like, if we don't curb landfills, what happens? So not only does composting help divert organic material from a landfill, and about 50% of the material that ends up in a landfill is organic material. It also helps with soil creation. So in the natural system of things, plants die, they decay on the ground in which they were growing. The nutrients that were held within the plant leaves and stems and fruits re-enters the soil and then feeds the next plant. We've disrupted this system, right? We cut down plants now and send them away, and no longer can they decay where they were once growing. And so no longer can nutrients return to the soil to support plant life. So by composting and spreading finished compost on the land, we are reintroducing that nutrients into the soil, which creates healthier food, which creates healthier humans. It's this whole cyclical nature. We're reintroducing that cycle. It also has all these impacts on water systems. It can hold 5 times its weight in water. It creates carbon sinks. So it sequesters carbon dioxide from the air, really healthy soil. So there's like a 20-for-1 deal that happens when you spread compost on the land. And what it basically boils down to is a healthier planet, healthier humans, healthier ecosystems. So that's why I'm so enamored with composting, because we're all like totally swamped and have a million things to do. And I love that I can do this one simple action and it's like, boom, 20 things accomplished. And like, baller, love that. Great. Okay, so let's move on to you guys and what you're thinking of. What kind of services can community composters offer you? If there's a front of the house event where the guests are interacting with the bin, that's where we see the highest levels of contamination. Your guests aren't going to really worry about sorting properly. They're having a good time. And so it helps to have somebody on staff helping sort correctly to reduce contamination. In the back of the house, maybe we're working with scullery to also properly sort. Scullery's busy. They're doing their thing, in the catering world. So sometimes it's helpful to have a staff there directing them or to educate them before the event starts. So sometimes people can't afford to pay for a compostable staff to be on site. Totally fine. We'll come at the beginning of the event, educate your staff on how to properly sort their food waste, and usually they're pumped about it. There's only been, I think, one time where they were like, meh, I don't want to do this. And it was like a very big company that gets all the production, and the production contracts, and they're stretched really thin, and so that's kind of understandable. But most of the time, your catering staff, your event staff leave a little disheartened with the amount of waste that's produced at an event, and this feels so good for them. Hold on one second. My mom has called. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. Okay. Okay. So, other things we do, compostable reps, that's what I was kind of talking about. Do you want somebody to just educate your staff before the event, or do you want somebody on site kind of helping? The most important thing I think we do is not actually compost. It's food recovery. So, there's so many hungry Angelinos within a very small radius of every event we serve, and we should be feeding those people first. So after the event staff take home whatever food they want, because so often they are very appreciative to take home leftovers. We then take that food and donate it to local homeless shelters. We take the florals and donate it to nursing homes. So that's usually, again, your staff are leaving with a high, their morale is really high because they know that. And then we're also going to compost in the most sustainable way possible. We help with sourcing. Do you have disposables? Are you navigating 1,000,005 greenwashing things? Then we'll navigate that with you. What's truly compostable, what's not truly compostable. We've heard every question. We've seen every product. We can help guide you. And then I've already touched on Greenway and Florida donations. At the end, we're going to send you an impact report. How many donations were made? How many pounds of food did you feed the homeless with? And how many pounds of food did you feed the soil with? Those are all going to come back to you, so you can share it with maybe it's your client, basically. Okay. Okay. Every location's different. Some we're just like kind of stuck behind the tent. Some, the bins are actually, we have a couple of different size bins. Some are small bins that we put next to bars. Some are larger bins that are like nicer looking if they're going out front. And then we gotta have these big toters if we're stuck in the back somewhere. It's really different bins to fit your client's needs. But having bins in the most places as possible encourages people to use them, because again, this is not their job, right? Bartenders and stuff, their job is to make sure everybody leaves with what they have, and so we have to make this as easy as a lift as possible. We also do favors. If you want to, this is less utilized, I'd say, but we still offer it. If you wanted to give if you're big into composting and you want to give like your crew back some compost tea bags and that kind of thing, it's really cute. There's going to be signage everywhere. This is really important. You've heard me say this time and time again already. How do we make this as easy as a lift as possible? Clear cut signage. Yes, no, making this really absorbable for people. This is something unique to Compostable. I actually haven't seen any community composters do this in any of my colleagues across the United States, but we charge a fee. So again, we are the YIMBYism. We're like, yes, in my backyard. This is benefiting the community. This is a resource. And we charge a 5% fee on every of our invoices for environmental justice purposes. We have a lot of historical issues to fix, particularly in LA, about how communities were abused to process waste. And so we're trying to fix that by saying, 5% of every one of your invoices is going to go towards rectifying those wrongs. So we call that our environmental justice plan. And we're funding usually programs within the food system and the BIPOC community to help the money flow from these kind of maybe wealthier clients, right? The Grammys has plenty of money to give to BIPOC partners of ours. Oh, we're doing 10%. I don't even know my own rules. 10% of your invoice. Whatever. Great, more. So that's great. And these are some of the bigger names that we've worked with, at least with in regards to the production side of things. Yeah, obviously Universal Music Group. These are kind of more commercials. We've also worked with a lot of wedding planners. We have a whole separate, kind of partnership spiel specific for wedding planners, because that's much different. And this is something we hand out to all of them about, so they can walk through with their clients, right? Because they have to get their clients on board. And that's sometimes difficult. There's a budget, especially with weddings. It could be a little bit easier with corporate clients because there's maybe a push for green initiatives, but with weddings or smaller clients, it's a little bit more tricky because there's a budget and there's not as much pressure to perform on a green initiative level. You don't have all these shareholders you're reporting to in that way. So what we do then is give the wedding coordinator or the vendor tools to communicate with their partners, their clients, why this is important to get buy-in from them. Because with Universal Music Group, I'm not saying, it's almost like we were doing them a favor, right? They had green goals and they found us and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you. But with smaller wedding people, it's like we're trying to shift their perspective. So teaching them about the impact they can have, teaching them about the different options. Are you doing pickup and drop off only? Are you on a budget? Do you want staff there? Did you even know you could do food donations? Did you know that we can waive the liability for you with the Good Samaritan waiver? Did you know that, nursing homes love floral donations and we can distribute that to them? And then obviously we have our pricing. So with the add-ons, we really just try and cover our costs because we're already going to be there. The head count, it's, honestly, we have found that it's an average of 1 pound of waste per person at weddings. It's astronomical. So there is a lot of food waste at weddings because the person didn't order that meal, right? It's coming to them whether they're hungry or not. So we have noticed a lot of waste at weddings. And as a result, you see this right here, excessive waste generation fee. If you go significantly higher than the 1 pound of waste per person, we're going to charge you a fee for that. Why are we doing that? We are encouraging the coordinators and the wedding clients, and we do this for our corporate clients too, to source less in the first place. It saves them money in the long run because they're not paying for food that people aren't going to eat. And they're not getting charged a fee when no one eats it. And then we have a ton of waste. I mean, there was one wedding we worked, it was 120 people and it was 300 pounds of waste. It was wild. And so we're saying you clearly sourced wrong. Work with your company to source correctly. Do less. You'll save money on food. You'll save money on waste costs. And then how do we make this easier for the person that's planning the actual event? Like the last two things I showed you was like, how do we get people on board? Well, okay, you got people on board, but now you still have to do the heavy lifting to get this a reality. So we have this kind of partnering with Compostable orientation sheet that walks the coordinator through what are we going to do and what do we need you to do? Here's what we're going to do pre-event. Here's what the impact tracking is what you'll see in there. If you added on-site staff, here's what we are responsible for. Here is what we are not responsible for. So that's very clear. What is our call time? We showed up to, we once early on, people had us come an hour before the event ended. It's like totally unnecessary. We're just, like if we're not already partnered with Scullery, we're just kind of in the way of Scullery at that point. And then we have a checklist for you guys. What do you need to do before the event to make this as little waste as possible? How do we get the chefs, the caterers, the bartenders, the florists on board? And we're thinking even of plastic free.